We are back with a general rundown video of just some of the stuff that's been going on in Ohio sports in general. Haven't done one of these videos in a little bit, but I do feel like there's a lot of stuff that has happened that I can't really capture in a game recap or anything, but enough of things have happened around Ohio sports that it is important to make a video on it. Starting with Ohio State getting into the playoff against Georgia. I know this is old news, but I would like to touch on it for a little bit. Ohio State really benefiting from USC losing in the Pac-12 championship to Utah in pretty bad fashion. The Buckeyes pretty much getting in pretty much by way of default. I kind of feel the same way now as I did when they lost to Michigan. I think if this Buckeye team had an extra gear to give, they probably would have shown it in Michigan. I don't think their secondary is good enough to cover a serious pass attack, and their front seven, while better, it did falter late in that game against Michigan. Michigan was able to basically run all over them as that game was ending, so I'm not too confident in the defense's ability in general against an elite team. And also, I don't think the Buckeyes offense, while it is more of the strength of this team than the defense, I don't think the offense capitalizes on its strengths well enough, and there are still questions about whether CJ Stroud can really step up and perform his best in the big moments. I feel like the offense does have a lot of good pieces, but we have seen the coaching staff and Ryan Day struggle to counter-adjust, especially like we saw against Michigan. I wonder what happens when Georgia makes moves to stifle Ohio State's offense. When Michigan made them and the Ohio State only scored 3 points in the second half, what does Ryan Day have the ability to counterattack after adjustments have been made? I'm not sure. And we've seen this offense when the talent on the other team's defense is comparable to Ohio State's offense and it doesn't just have to be completely out-talented by Ohio State. When the talent level is somewhat equal, does Ryan Day have that ability to coach a decent scheme? And I don't know if we've seen that this year yet from this team. And again, I think if there was an extra gear this Ohio State team had to give, we would have seen it already, because that game against Michigan kind of was already a playoff game. That was essentially a playoff game between number 2 and number 3. That was a playoff game in my opinion. Another playoff game against arguably a better team in Georgia. I don't necessarily have a better feeling about it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that this analysis looks stupid when Ohio State does play Georgia, and I can say that I'm a big fat idiot. Well, I'm already am, but I can hope I say my prediction on this was incorrect, and hopefully hopefully I'm wrong about this, but I don't get excited when I see Ohio State having to play Georgia, even if it is an opportunity in a playoff game. Moving on to the Cleveland Browns. They have a very big game tomorrow on the road against the Bengals. AFC North divisional matchup, and the Browns just kind of need to start racking up wins just to stay in the playoff race in general. Sione Takitaki is out for the season with a torn ACL. That is too bad. He was really starting to become a playmaker on defense. He was starting to look noticeable in the last couple of weeks, and now the linebacker position continues to be a question mark, whether it's just because of bad play or because of injuries this year. I believe that's the third linebacker to suffer a season-ending injury, if not more. It's been a wild ride at that position. We'll see if maybe Deion Jones gets some more snaps now that Takitaki's gone, and see how that goes. Amari Cooper has been limited in practice this week, but he is expected to play. But I feel like the biggest question for this game against the Bengals for the Browns is whether or not Deshaun Watson will improve after a horrible game against the Texans. We'll see if maybe another week in the offense gets him going a little bit more, or maybe if that first game back just had him really nervous. But the play he had against Houston was definitely not encouraging, and there was nothing really there to indicate that he would get better, although I guess more repetitions and just getting that first game out of the way, maybe that kind of gets a boost in his performance after that. And now moving on to some of the Blue Jackets news. Jake Voracek holding a press conference on Monday. He revealed that he probably will not be playing this year. The chances, he said, were pretty slim, although he is going to, I guess, try to come back. He is still dealing with concussion symptoms after that concussion he suffered in Finland. And this, Jake Voracek having a history of concussion, so that can be kind of scary. You definitely don't want to rush something like that, rush Jake Voracek back into play if he's still not feeling great, especially with the concussion history that he does have. It's very unclear if he'll play again even after this season. He does still have another year on his contract for the Blue Jackets, but again, if he's still dealing with concussion issues, then, and even if he's not, you definitely want to be really safe about this kind of stuff. It's very unclear if he'll play again. Maybe he won't. It might be safest for him and best for him to not play again. But, Jake Voracek did say that he would be trying as best as he can to play. But he did basically come out and say that he probably won't be playing again this season, and he is going on LTIR for the time being. Jonas Corposalo suffering an injury, lower body injury against the Flames yesterday. He is expected to miss 1 to 2 weeks, and he has been placed on IR. Jet Greaves is called up from Cleveland, the Blue Jackets organization wanting Daniil Tarasov to keep getting the majority of the AHL games. They figure it's better to keep him in the AHL where he can be a starting goalie rather than just call him up to be a backup for a little bit. The Blue Jackets do have a back-to-back on December 19th and the 20th, which is within that 1 to 2 week time frame for Korpisalo's return, so maybe we will see Jet Greaves get his first NHL action, or maybe they'll start Elvis on the back-to-back. Who knows how the Jackets will deal with this goalie situation, but right now the goalie tandem for the Blue Jackets right now is Elvis Merzlikins and Jet Greaves. We'll see if Jet Greaves can get some NHL action under his belt. He's looked pretty solid in Traverse City. I haven't really looked over his AHL numbers at the moment, so maybe he's been hot garbage there. Maybe he's been great, but maybe he gets in the NHL and starts playing really well, although with this defense and with the actual NHL goalies, I mean, we think that Korpisalo is having a solid season, but if you look at his numbers, it doesn't look like that very much. But, if Jet Greaves gets some NHL action, that might be a good opportunity to see what the Jackets have in him as of right now. And we're going to end this video off with some news from the Columbus Crew. They have hired a now former CF Montreal coach, Wilfried Nancy, to coach this Crew team after firing Caleb Porter. The Columbus Crew in a bit of state of flux right now with Pedro Santos, Derek Etienne Jr., and Artur among the notable player departures. Montreal finishing second in the East last season in the MLS with a record of 20 wins, 9 losses, and 5 draws. Hopefully this regular season success for Montreal carries over from Wilfried Nancy to the Crew. We'll see how it goes for so far this season with the Crew. It's basically just get into the playoffs and see what happens from there for the last couple of seasons with the Crew not being able to qualify for the playoffs the last couple of years in MLS. If Wilfried Nancy can carry this Crew team to that mark and get some playoff games for the franchise, that would be nice for the Crew. So that was pretty much it. Again, not a ton of super major news, but I feel like it was enough to where if I'm just doing game recaps, it's not going to be enough. And I just kind of wanted to get this news out there and kind of make a video out an update, just in case you guys haven't heard this news already. So thank you all for watching. If you made it this far, feel free to leave a like and a subscribe if you enjoyed the video and you would like to see more like it. Let me know if you have something to say down in the comments below. I will see you at the next one.